Hey, Larry here. Acts 29 today, coming to you from Sunny World headquarters in Chiang Mai, Thailand. I want to welcome all the viewers in Thailand and around the world. Well, today I believe this is part 3. It'll be in the title exactly what part it is. So, where I left you last time, I had just gotten back from Mexico on my first mission trip outside of the United States. And that was an amazing event for me and would be part of what really changed my life a lot. So I got back just before Christmas in 73. And before the end of the month, at the Wednesday night meeting that we went to every Wednesday night, the one where my mom saved all the seats for her family when she was believing for them to be saved, I was at that meeting one night in late November, and there was a missionary came there, and he was setting up a trip to go to India. And this was, I think it was another 30-day trip. And I don't know, it cost like $1,800 or something. You know, it was pretty expensive. That was everything included, the round trip flight, you know, hotel, meals, everything. And he was going to do crusades there. And so he was able to take 10 or 12 people, you know, how many ever wanted to go. And I was like, wow, India, wouldn't that be something? So I really prayed about it, and I felt like I should go. So after Christmas and into January, the first part of January, we had to have our money in, you know, by us, you know, like the 10th or something of January, because we were leaving on the 18th. And so I had to make up my mind. And what had happened is that I had $3,000 saved up in a bank account. I was going to buy the piece of property next door to my parents' house. I think there was 3 acres or something there, and it was like $1,000 an acre in those days. It was cheap, and so I was going to buy that piece of property. But now, if I went on the trip, I was going to have to use half of that or more to go on this trip. And so I thought, well, wow, what am I going to do? You know, well, it didn't take me long to figure out that I was going to go to India, and and just for your information, about 30 years later, that piece of property that I was going to buy for $3,000 sold for like $56,000. But the trip to India that I went on was priceless, because there was definitely stuff there on that trip that changed my world. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go to India. I sent in my money, got the ticket and everything, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. So on the 18th of, I think it was the 18th of January in 1974, I flew from Portland, Oregon International, up to Vancouver, British Columbia by myself, and then I met up with, I think I met up with most of the rest of the team there. And then we flew from there the next day to Toronto, Canada, then to Paris, France, and we stayed a few days in Paris to kind of start getting adjusted to time changes and stuff. Went to the Eiffel Tower and looked around a little bit. Then we went from Paris to Bombay. I think they call it Mumbai now, but it was Bombay then. And interestingly enough, we stopped in Tehran, Iran on the way for fuel. And we picked up a few passengers. They didn't let us off the plane, but nevertheless, we were in Tehran, Iran. A Muslim lady got on there and sat in the window seat. I was in the aisle seat, and she immediately began chanting something in, whatever language it was. It was a prayer, religious chant or something like they do. And she was doing it out loud. Not loud, but, I could hear her. I was like, are you kidding me? You mean I'm going to have to listen to this all the way to Bombay? So I thought, well, okay, I know another language too. So I just began to pray quietly out loud in tongues. And, she could hear me. And after a while, she stopped. And I just kept praying quietly. More quiet, in tongues the rest of the way. So, when we landed in Bombay, it was like going back in time 100 years. I mean, the culture shock for me was unbelievable. I mean, we get off a 747, one of the most advanced airplanes in modern history, and we get off, and that's my last memory of the 20th century for 30 days. As we were walking out of the airport, there was big windows there in the front, and there were hundreds and hundreds of kids out there, all jumping up to the window to look in, and they were waiting for us to come out so they could run up and carry our bags and get a little bit of tip money when we got to the taxi. And so I was mobbed by all these kids, and they grabbed onto my luggage and everything. And so we went to a taxi, made it to the hotel, and the poverty in Bombay was just unbelievable. I mean, there were shanty towns living in places like with gunny sacks over boxes, and people were born in stacks of sewer pipes along the road that never got used. And they were born in those sewer pipes. They lived and died in those sewer pipes. And every morning, about 6 in the morning, big garbage trucks would go throughout the city, and they would kick the people laying on side of the road, and if they didn't move, they threw them in the truck because they were dead. And so the culture shock was really amazing to me. And we spent, I think we were in Bombay for, I don't know, maybe, 3 days, maybe something like that. On the last day we were there, it was kind of weird. We were down at the harbor, and the group was looking at something, and I kind of wandered down along the water at the water's edge of the wharf. And so I was a little ways away from the group, and these two guys walked up to me, and one of them pulled out a bag of hashish. And of course, I recognized it immediately, and he said, oh, you want to buy some hashish, And he gave me a price, and I was already calculating in my head what I could sell this stuff for in the States and how that would fund me on some more mission trips. But then I caught myself, and I thought, what are you doing? No, you cannot do this. Get out of here. So I just turned around, walked off, went back to the group. But it was an amazing little thing that happened there on the last day in Bombay. So then the next day we flew down to Madras, and then on down to the southern tip in Cape Cameron. And there we stayed the rest of the time. We did crusades almost every night, or some kind of ministry every day. There was a lot of people came to the crusades. A lot of people got demon delivered, healings, salvations, and it was amazing. You know, I mean, I was 24 years old. I'd been saved for about 2 years, and here I was halfway around the world in these big crusades, and I really didn't, you know, have any clue what I was doing. But you know, I got to give my testimony and work with the ministry stuff, you know, when there was ministry going on. So it was amazing. And where we stayed and where we went to every day, we passed through these different provinces. And one of the provinces was communist. And they had the hammer and the sickle flags flying, and we had to go through the checkpoints. And so that was kind of different deal. But something happened on this trip that would really be a building block in my life as far as missions. We stayed at a train station one night, and it was a big old train station, and it was not being used anymore. And we were staying there overnight. You get up in the night, like to go to the bathroom, and it was so dark, you know, but I had a little flashlight, where you'd hear this crunching under your feet, you know, what is that? You know, well, it was these cockroaches about, you know, they were about 4-inch long cockroaches, and, you know, I had my sandals on, but, you know, still the crunch of cockroaches on the way to the restroom was a little weird, you know. So, but it was at that train station where something happened that really began to set something in my spirit, and that would stay with me for the rest of my life. And so I'm going to get into that on the very next video. And so we're up at cruising altitude now. We are cruising along, making good time. And so on the next video, I will go on with what happened up there in that train station that was a real building block in my life. So thanks for tuning in today. Bless you, and I will see you on the next video.